double primary school enrollment and launch an extensive program to renovate primary and secondary schools and supply them with furniture, water, and sanitation facilities. We recruited 25,000 new qualified primary school teachers to replace about 22,000 who failed the competency test. We also hired over 2,500 teachers of English, mathematics, science, and ICT for our secondary schools. We have rehabilitated and upgraded physical facilities in all our senior secondary schools, supplied classroom furniture to reduce the deficit, and provided water and sanitation. We increased and raised the feeding allowance in our secondary schools from 21 naira per day to 300 naira for every student so that they will feed better. We introduced the use of 15,000 electronic tablets for learning with lessons, examination questions, and answers loaded for pilot preparation of the senior secondary school certificate examination in our girls' secondary schools. We've strengthened SUBED through new leadership to drive our agenda in basic education and bring more children to school in multi-story classrooms to address congestion in our urban and rural primary and junior secondary schools across the state. We revamped the scholarship system, increased allowances to those entitled based on either merit or need. We also introduced a low-interest loan scheme to cater for those not qualified for scholarship but wishing to finance their tertiary education. Our scholarship and loans board recently awarded 41 merit-based scholarships for first-class graduates to study abroad for their masters and PhDs. We've identified a new main campus for the Kaduna State University in Igabi local government near NTI, and for satellite campuses in Makarfi, Lere, Birnungwari, and Kau. Along with TED Fund and the Central Bank of Nigeria, we're supporting the Kaduna State University to put facilities on the main campus. In the area of health, Mr. Speaker, sir, we've delivered the upgraded 255 primary health centers with maternal antenatal care equipment almost completed. Thousands of healthcare personnel have also been recruited to man these equipped facilities. We're pursuing universal health coverage through the enrollment of our citizens in the state contributory health insurance scheme, which this honorable house also established by law. And we are enhancing our health system resilience amidst the COVID-19 pandemic. New 136-bed infectious disease hospital is almost completed on the way to the airport. The infectious disease control center in Kakuri has been upgraded, while extra facilities to expand treatment have been opened in Kaduna, Kafanchan, and Zaria. From zero molecular labs for COVID-19 testing in March 2020, the state now has 3 labs, one at the Yusuf Danzo Hospital, another at the AP Teaching Hospital in Shika, and the third, a private lab, DNA labs here in Kaduna, all capable of testing for COVID-19, tuberculosis, hepatitis, HIV, and other diseases. The state also acquired 10,000 test cartridges being used by some of our gene expert machines to conduct COVID-19 and tuberculosis tests concurrently. We've accelerated the rehabilitation and equipping of our general hospitals and comprehensive health centers. In collaboration with the Ahmad Bello University Teaching Hospital Zaria, we brought the old Tudumada General Hospital back into service for the benefit of our neighboring communities around Zaria. Mr. Speaker, sir, in the area of social welfare, we initiated and funded several skills acquisition and entrepreneurship programs for youth and women. Economic Empowerment Program CADSWEP, with 200 million naira in low-interest microcredits targeting women entrepreneurs and vulnerable groups. With Click on Kaduna, thousands of young people are learning to code and acquire digital skills at our Kaduna ICT Hub. We are encouraging graduate entrepreneurs through the Kaduna Startup Entrepreneurship Scheme CADSTEP, giving them business training and facilitating funding of bankable proposals they produce. Blueprint for the industrialization of our state. We also launched the Urban Renewal Program to improve infrastructure, transport connections, and the livability of our cities. It is a state government intervention intended for our 3 main cities of Kaduna, Kafanchan, and Zaria. The program started with Kaduna with new roads, expanded arterial roads, shopping malls, and neighborhood centers included. Contracts for the roads component of the Kafanchan and Zaria Urban Renewal Program have been awarded and will proceed in earnest as soon as the rains end. We've completed the long-delayed phases 1 and 2 of Zaria Water Expansion Project that now supplies potable water to Zaria and Sabangari local governments. Water transmission and distribution pipelines are now being extended to neighboring local governments, starting with Soba and Giwa local governments, by the grace of God. We made other significant investments in infrastructure, especially roads, to upgrade our urban centers and open up our rural areas. We recorded significant achievement in the construction of rural feeder roads, including completing and successfully closing the Rural Access and Mobility Project ramp funded by the World Bank. We've awarded 476 township roads across the state and 28 intercity roads with a distance of over 530 kilometers. Some of our major roads have already benefited from our solar street lighting program, designed to light up Kaduna metropolis and other areas and help improve security. We started the reconstruction, expansion, and development of markets, beginning with Kaswam Magani in Kaduna local government area, and moving on to Sabongari in Sabongari local government, Damagaji in Zaria local government, and Kaswa Bachi in Kaduna South local government, along with the sanitization of the Abubakar Gumi Central Market in Kaduna. The sale of shops in Abubakar Gumi Central Market to sitting tenants, the real traders in the market, is also proceeding in earnest. Working around the clock, we hope to ensure the completion of trailer parks at Tafa in Kagorko local government, and Mararaban Jos in Igabi local government. We intend to take every trailer and fuel tanker that currently parks dangerously on the main roads in this location into safe, secure, and serene locations very soon. In the areas of governance, Mr. Speaker, sir, we've taken steps to curb waste and fraud. We reduced the number of ministries from 19 to 14 and continue to undertake periodic staff verification to enhance the integrity of the nominal role and the payroll of our workers and pensioners. We made clear that we are committed to realizing progressive outcomes for our people and will not fritter resources on steroid populism. Accordingly, we stopped government sponsorship of religious pilgrimage. On pension reform, this House passed a new contributory pension law, which we implement faithfully as confirmed by the National Pension Commission. In fact, Kaduna State is one of the few states, a handful of states, 4 or 5, that are fully compliant with PENCOM guidelines. We also increased the minimum monthly pension to 30,000 naira for those on the all-defined benefit scheme. We've reformed land administration, Mr. Speaker, by abolishing the Ministry of Land Survey and Country Planning in 2015. We replaced it with the Kaduna Geographic Information Service, which this House established by law, whose mandate is land administration and the development of a digital land registry. We launched the Public Service Reform and Revitalization Program that right-sized our state bureaucracy to an affordable structure and size, and have recently enacted a new public service law with the support of this House. We have more than tripled internally generated revenue in the state to 44 billion in 2019 from what we inherited in 2015. This government has recorded the highest levels of budget performance in the history of Kaduna State, injecting the largest ever capital investment in the history of the state. In 2019, Mr. Speaker, sir, Kaduna State achieved 97.5% budget performance for capital projects, spending 148.57 billion of the 152.33 billion this House approved as budget. This is more than twice the earlier record we set of capital spending of over 62 billion in 2016. We also implemented a raft of public financial management reforms, including entrenching zero-based budgeting systems and maintaining the Treasury single account that consolidated 25 billion naira scattered in more than 470 bank accounts into one account at the Central Bank of Nigeria since 2016. We've reformed our local government system by restructuring and organizing it to solvency and enabling the local government councils not only pay salaries, but also deliver real social services to citizens. This is in contrast to what we inherited when 8 local governments out of 23 were unable to pay salaries unless we supported them on a monthly basis. Mr. Speaker, right honorable members, we are the first subnational government in Africa to deploy electronic voting machines, successfully using them for the local government elections in 2018 that were widely acknowledged for their fairness and credibility. In the agricultural sector, we ended the annual ritual of fertilizer racketeering since 2016, making affordable yet unsubsidized fertilizer available to farmers all the year round. We completed the aggregation centers for farm produce in Giwa and Lere and began the phased rehabilitation of irrigation schemes across the state. In 2019, we introduced 5 policy councils to encourage government-wide collaboration and eliminate silo mentality. Related ministries, departments, and agencies are grouped together in the Human Capital Development, Economic Development, Infrastructure Development, Procurement Monitoring, and Institutional Development Council, which meet on specific days of the week as subcommittees of the Kaduna State Executive Council. This has enabled the Executive Council to only meet once or twice a month instead of weekly, as it used to be the case. In the area of investments, Mr. Speaker, sir, as I said, the World Bank ranks Kaduna State as the #1 place for ease of doing business in Nigeria, from number 21 out of 36 states and the FCT in 2014. Kaduna was #1 state ranked by NIPC for attracting foreign direct investment worth $1 billion already invested and $2.1 billion in pledged investments in 2020. We've held 5 successful editions of the Kaduna Economic and Investment Summit CAD-Invest, which have helped showcase Kaduna State as favorite destination of job-creating foreign and domestic investments. Through the $150 million Olam Poultry and Feed Mill project, which was commissioned in 2017, we have made Kaduna the poultry hub of northern Nigeria. We have broken ground for the 20 billion Naira Damao Milk Farm project, a collaboration between our state, the Central Bank of Nigeria, and European dairy giant Arla. This is designed to transform and modernize livestock production in Kaduna State into a commercially viable animal husbandry business. And finally, in the area of investments, Tomato Jos has not only multiplied per hectare productivity of our farmers in Kangimi 8 times, but has broken ground for the construction of their tomato processing plant. GB Foods is constructing a similar plant in Kaduna State, while Dangote Group has acquired a Kara food processing facility along with 5,000 hectares of land for cultivating and processing tomatoes and supporting local farmers in Ikara as outgrowers. In the area of security, Mr. Speaker, sir, the foundation for all governance, as we know, is human security. We have invested heavily to support federal security agencies in the state with vehicles, communications equipment, and ordnance. Challenges remain with banditry, cattle rustling, kidnapping, and armed robberies, as well as ethno-religious intolerance in communities in parts of the state. We remain engaged with the federal government on enhancing security throughout our state. Through the Kaduna State Peace Commission, we are supporting peace-building initiatives like that currently underway in Zabokata Chiefdom, as well as between Kaninkom and Zikpark Chiefdom in Jama'a local government. Investments in modern technology to assist the security agencies continues to be the priority of our government. This includes the acquisition of radio frequency trackers to track GSM calls, unmanned aerial vehicles, drones, CCTV installations, starting with Kaduna, and the forensic laboratory here in Kaduna that will be able to do DNA tests and other tools to help in fighting crime. We hope to commission the first phase of the Kaduna Safe City project in 2021. Mr. Speaker, sir, the Safe City project will entail having closed-circuit TVs connected by a fiber optic wire all across Kaduna that will enable us monitor what is going on across the city and to help security agencies apprehend and identify criminal activity. In the areas of housing, Mr. Speaker, we are expanding access to affordable housing through provision of single-digit interest rate mortgages in collaboration with Sterling Bank. The state has another tripartite arrangement with the Nigerian Mortgage Refinance Company and Federal Housing Authority mortgages on affordable mortgage for our citizens. This is to make it easy for our people to buy and own their house. We hope, Mr. Speaker, sir, starting from now, anyone that lives in Kaduna will be able to borrow and buy a house and pay over 15 to 20 years. We've also announced commenced the construction of affordable housing units by the government in various parts of Kaduna metropolis for sale to the citizens of the state in 2021. With the mortgage facilities available, as I said, any citizen with predictable income can buy a home and pay over 10 to 15 years at single-digit interest rate. I have recounted some of these accomplishments compared to what we inherited, Mr. Speaker, so that this honorable House and ourselves will remember where we started and what we'll be able to achieve working together. In our first week in office back in June 2015, Mr. Speaker, we are shocked and disheartened to learn that at least 50% of school pupils in our primary school sat on floors because there was inadequate school furniture. We also learned that many of these schools were overcrowded, dilapidated, and completely lacking in water and sanitary facilities. In October 2015, we declared a state of emergency in the education sector to enable us begin the huge task of making the 4,250 public primary schools and over 400 government secondary schools in Kaduna State fit for our children. This work is still work in progress, but we've made a lot of progress. And I have to congratulate the House for the support in what we've been able to achieve, as I said, working together. Mr. Speaker, sir, with your permission, I will now come to the proposed 2021 budget, which we call Budget of Recovery. Mr. Speaker, sir, honorable members, the uncertainties unleashed by the COVID-19 pandemic make it even more important for us to embrace fiscal realism. Therefore, the draft 2021 estimates are based on the following. Number one, limiting the size of the budget strictly in conformity with realizable revenues in the light of a post-COVID-19 economy. Number two, providing funds for projects from start to finish while taking into cognizance ongoing projects and inherited capital liabilities. Number three, maintaining the minimum budgeting baseline model of 60% capital to 40% recurrent. Number four, education and health sectors to hold a minimum of 26% and 15% of the total proposed budget respectively. The government will strictly adhere to these targets, giving close attention to priority projects, strengthening expenditure control measures, and seeking ways to significantly expand internally generated revenue collection. I'll now present a summary of the 2021 draft revenue and expenditure estimates. Mr. Speaker, in preparing the draft 2021 budget, we have taken into account the economic impact of COVID-19 and the continuing uncertainty it has unleashed. Despite the subsisting dangers from the pandemic, life must continue, and we must strive to manage the situation as best as we can and make progress wherever possible. Therefore, we are proposing a 2021 budget size of 237.52 billion naira, of which 157.56 billion is capital expenditure and 79.96 billion recurrent expenditure, a 66% to 34% capital to recurrent ratio. As usual, the draft 2021 budget prioritizes capital spending and upholds our putting people first governance agenda. It seeks to support our abiding commitment to education, health, and infrastructure by devoting 63% of the total budget to these three sectors. The rationale for these choices is obvious. While education and health are the principal components of human capital development, investments in infrastructure are critical to maintaining our competitiveness as a state, supporting economic dynamism, creating jobs, and promoting the well-being of our people. In 2021, we propose to spend 59.59 billion naira on education, about 26% of the budget, and 35.78 billion naira, or 15% of the budget, on health, and 55.51 billion naira, or 23% on infrastructure. A sum of 124 billion, almost 79% of the capital budget of 157 billion is allocated to the economic and social sector. This preserves the ability to maintain investment levels in education and health while continuing projects in the urban renewal programs. Mr. Speaker, honorable members, permit me to present the detailed summary of the recurrent and capital allocations and to outline the proposed allocation to each sector. I will now present the consolidated financial statement. We hope to fiscal year 2021 with an opening balance of 10.68 billion naira, 10,680,213,451 naira and 62 kobo. We hope our internal generated revenue for 2021 will be 50.699 billion naira. 50,699,968,192 naira 68 kobo. We expect to receive statutory allocation from Federation account amounting to 50,137,175,430.94. We are expecting about 500 million as grants or contributions for COVID-19 response, which we expect to see from the federal government and other sources. Mr. Speaker, sir, this will bring the total to 112 billion 17,357,075 naira and 24 kobo. And we hope, Mr. Speaker, for the first time in the state's history, this year in 2021, our internally generated revenue will exceed Federation account allocation by the grace of God. I will now give the breakdown of the recurrent expenditure estimates. In 2021, we expect consolidated revenue fund charges to amount to 1,769,463,313 naira 88 kobo. Personnel cost 42,644,479,578 naira 36 kobo. Overhead cost 30,546,382,882 naira 67 kobo. While public debt charges amount to 3.5 billion naira. And then 10% of our internal generated revenue that will go to local government councils, budgeted 1.5 billion naira, 1,500,029,614 naira. Total recurrent expenditure is therefore 79,960,355,416 naira 92 kobo. Net recurrent revenue will then be 32,057,001,658 naira and 32 kobo. So we transfer that to the capital budget. Recurrent revenue is 112 billion, as earlier stated. Less recurrent expenditure, 79,960,355, will give us the current budget surplus of 32 billion. Transfer to the capital account. I'll now give a breakdown of the capital accounts part. We hope to start the year with an opening balance in the capital account of 8,601,812,779 naira 10 kobo, and then the transfer of 32 billion from the recurrent budget surplus to capital of 32 billion 57,001,658 naira 32 kobo. Value added tax, we hope to receive 19 billion 800,660,740 naira 50 kobo. Internal loans and credit, zero. We don't intend to borrow any money this year, next year. Internal grants, we hope to receive 39,998,211,143 naira 39 kobo. While external loans, we hope to receive 46,916,696,000 naira. External grants, that is donor assistance, 9,194,500,072 naira 60 kobo. We hope to generate 1 billion naira from the sale of government assets. So I'll now give a breakdown, Mr. Speaker, of the capital expenditure estimates for the key sectors. Agriculture will receive a budget of 10,369,514,508 naira 52 kobo. Ministry of Business, Innovation and Technology will receive a budget of 5,634,818,359 naira 60 kobo capital budget. Housing and Urban Development has a capital budget of 8,691,662,830 naira and 30 kobo. The Ministry of Public Works and Infrastructure have a budget of 37,441,647,812 naira 79 kobo. So the economic sector will have a total budget, capital budget of 62.137 billion. The social sector will have a total budget of another 62.209 billion, consisting of the following. Education will have a capital budget of 38 billion 197,568 naira 38 billion 197,568,987 naira 70 kobo. Health 22 billion 606,083 naira 22 billion 606 million 83,687 naira and 85 kobo. Social development sector will have 1 billion 405 million 495,718 naira 32 kobo, bringing the total for the social sector capital budget to 62.209 billion. Regional development will have a total budget of 5.4 billion, consisting of 2.758 billion for the environment and natural resources sector, while water will have a budget of 2 billion 662 million 453,205 naira 94 kobo. The last subsector is general administration. The capital budget for general administration amounts to a total of 27 billion 801 million 367,356 naira and 8 kobo, broken down as follows. The executive will have a capital budget of 19 billion 28 million 185,666 naira 24 kobo. Governance will have 5 billion 492 million 554,939 naira and 2 kobo. Law and justice will have a capital budget of 802 968,244 naira 66 kobo, while the legislature will have a capital budget of 2 billion 477 million 658,506 naira 16 kobo, bringing the subtotal for general administration 27.8 billion. Mr. Speaker, right honorable members, we started out with a strong resolve in 2015 to reorient governance in this state, to put the real needs of ordinary people ahead of populism or short-term sentiments. We have steadfastly promoted equality of opportunity, delivering public goods for the many, and making the investments to expand access to education and healthcare. We shall be taking steps to expand the enrollment of residents in our state into the database of the Kaduna Resident Registration Agency to enable us to know who lives here and how to serve them better. So I will come to near conclusion, Mr. Speaker, sir, as usual, by presenting to the House our legislative agenda for 2020 to 2021. Mr. Speaker, honorable members, I've earlier paid tribute to this honorable House for the volume and quality of the laws that have been enacted. We do not intend to present a finance bill for the 2021 fiscal year, Mr. Speaker. This is because the COVID-19 pandemic makes it imperative not to raise any taxes or introduce new levies. Indeed, we may be approaching the Honorable House for further tax waivers to assist our businesses and households to be more liquid and better able to survive the negative impacts of this pandemic, whose end we don't know yet for sure. However, we shall be approaching the House with more bills to further strengthen governance in the state. The proposed bills will include the following. Number one, the Kaduna State Executive Council recently approved a state social protection policy. This places us in a better position to propose a social protection bill to domesticate the various intervention programs of the federal government and propose a statewide social safety net that will address the basic needs of our poorest and vulnerable citizens. Mr. Speaker, you are aware that when this pandemic broke, we realized that we don't have any safety net for the poorest people. The government had to intervene and buy food and distribute to those that we consider the most vulnerable. We think that the state should have a system for helping the poorest, not just when there is a pandemic, but day to day. So this, we hope to bring a bill that will create a social safety net for the poorest people in Kaduna State so that they get something that they will at least be able to eat, even if they don't have a job. Number two, Chieftaincy and Traditional Councils Bill to entrench the reforms of the chieftaincy system, specify composition and classification of emirates and traditional councils, and update the provisions of the colonial laws on chieftaincy matters that we inherited. Number three, to further promote job creation, economic development, and investment promotion. Number four, we bring to the House a state education bill to reenact our outdated education law, including updating the Universal Basic Education Law to repeal the 2005 law and reflect lessons learned in the implementation and domestication of the UBE Act. This will enable the eventual elimination of the dysfunctional out-of-school children phenomenon in Kaduna State. Number five, we hope to approach the House with a bill to establish family courts and small claims courts, along with legislation to amend the district court law to give them more powers and more room to handle more cases, since our high courts are over budget. And finally, another very important bill is for the enactment of the state commercial code to guide the conduct of commercial activities in our state, encourage innovation and investment. Mr. Speaker, right honorable members, therefore my pleasure to now lay before this honorable House the draft estimates of revenue and expenditure for the 2021 fiscal year and the appropriation bill accompanying this for your kind consideration. Thank you for listening, Mr. Speaker. God bless Kaduna State. God bless the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Sir, before I take my seat, I would like to crave the indulgence of the Honorable House for all of us to rise for 1 minute silence in memory of the late Emir of Zazzau, Alhaji Dr. Shehu Idris, who died. 1 minute silence. اللهم انا نستعينك ونستغفرك ونعوذ بك من شر ما خلق ونعوذ بك من شر ما خلق رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي امري mai girma gwamnan jihar Kaduna Malam Nasiru Ahmed El-Rufai da mataimakiyar shi da